Entertainment. Ruslan. Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan. Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Back for the after party stream. If you're here live, let me know where you're watching this from. We'll start out with some quick shout outs to you guys, and then we're gonna get into any of your questions about the previous stream we just did about the worship stream. Okay, so if you got any questions for me at all, now will be the time to jump in and ask me any question you like about the previous stream with regards to worship. If you guys haven't seen the full video with Alan Parr, I'm gonna make sure that is linked below in the previous stream. So we got Texas in the house, we got Maryland in the house, Firm College in the house. Again, let me know where you guys are watching this from, and we are going to link you guys up here in just a second. Alan Parr full stream, super dope. I think it was dope. Idaho's in the house. Again, let me know where you're watching this from. After party. Cayman Islands is in the house. Brooklyn, New York. Maine in the house. Bay Area's in the house. Toronto, UK, Connecticut, South Florida, Central Cali, Paris, France. Wow. All right, let's jump into some of you guys' questions. Georgia, Philly's in the house. Okay, so I'm gonna mark some of you guys' questions. If you got a question, do me a solid, write the word question before it, or just put a capital Q so I can see it. I'm marking the two I just saw. And so this is gonna be more of a lightning round. I'm gonna do my best to answer as many questions as I can. I've done worship services. I've done Sunday morning worship. I don't formally play an instrument, so I've never been on a worship team. But I have worked in ministries where I've kind of like made sure, you know, worship was being organized and everything was on the up and up. All right. So let's jump into some of these questions. All right. She says, I don't know how you say your name. Shireen Show, the Shireen Show. How do we unlearn only feeling like we are worshiping while listening to music, or feeling like this is the only way we deeply experience God? This is such a good question. Okay, so here's what I've been doing, and you could take this with a grain of salt. What I've been doing is that I have been intentional to play worship when I'm doing other things that aren't just a Sunday morning experience. So I'll actually use the music while I'm working out, or while I'm, I don't know, doing yard work, right? Because I'm trying to do everything onto the glory of God. So I'll use the worship, and then from worship, I've been able to evolve, and now I can work out to just listening to scripture, right? And so it's still an act of worship to God, even though it's not me driving in my car or standing in a worship service or at a worship night worshiping God. So if that makes sense. So I basically, like, in order to kind of unlearn, is I leverage the what I'm used to transition into what I want to be used to, which is learning to worship in all things and give glory to God, and meditate, to do all things unto God, right? It's not breaking up, is it? Don't be out here trolling me. I don't know if he's really trolling me, Jonathan, but hopefully it's not breaking up. Let's see. Audio levels sound good. Okay. If you had a chance to look into it, think of it, could you share your thoughts about Maverick City and the Grammys and Dante Bowie, Lil Nas? If not, no worries. Yeah, so I Googled it, Courtney. I'm not super hip on what's going on. Like, I'll be completely honest with you. The only folks I know from Maverick is Chandler Moore and my buddy KJ, who technically is not like a member of Maverick. He is he's like kind of like one of the pastoral heads over there. He helps with some of the shepherding. So that's like, and me and Chandler follow each other, and me and KJ's been on channel. So I don't even know Like I've never even heard the name Dante before this, but Mac wrote thoughts. Dante from the Grammys saying that he appreciates Lil Nas's music. You know, I don't know. I don't know. I probably wouldn't have said that. I don't think it's a good idea, especially as a worship leader, to probably say that. But I also don't think that's something you mark him as a heretic for. You know what I mean? If I'm at I'm trying to think of here's a good parallel. Say I was at a YouTube conference, and I'm actually going to be at a YouTube conference here with Sean Cannell, and my buddy Sean Cannell, he's just came on the channel, and you guys are like, yo, Ruslan, who are you looking forward to hearing at Sean Cannell's Grow with Video Live conference? And Gary Vee is one of the speakers. I'm gonna be like, I'm excited to check out Gary Vee. Why? Because I'm a YouTuber. Gary Vee is very big in the space. Gary Vee is very popular in the space. And some people would say, well, Ruslan, how dare you say Gary Vee, because Gary Vee uses profanity and Gary Vee is not a Christian, right? Now, I know Lil Nas X is a little more hostile to Christianity than Gary Vee, but I think it's a similar thing. If I'm in a context where, dude, we're talking about YouTube, who do you want to see? I want to see Gary Vee. I want to see Mr. Beast. I want to see, right? I want to hear those folks talk about YouTube and glean from their expertise in the YouTube space. So if David is saying, hey, I'm in a setting, we're at the Grammys, it's about the best in music, Lil Nas X, I don't think he's one of the best in music. Honestly, I think Lil Nas X kind of finessed the whole Pink Mafia thing, if you know what I'm talking about. But, and that's his response, because he genuinely thinks that Lil Nas is one of the best musicians of this era. I would say, I disagree, because I think there's people way more talented than him. But if that's what he thinks and he's looking forward to seeing him, I don't think you indict him and mark him as a heretic because of that. Is it questionable? Maybe, right? But straight up, I'm going to a conference in May, and if you're a Christian creator, I encourage you to pull up, because I'm trying to get as many Christian creators there as possible. I was talking to Alan Parr about it. And guess what? The headlining speaker is going to be Gary Vee, and he's going to drop some F-bombs. Some of you guys are too holy for that. Some of you guys are your conscience is way too weak for that. I respect it. I get it. Right. But so when we're in these other spaces, because he can't answer that question correctly. Like, honestly, like, what's he going to say? Kanye. Kanye's bad. Tyler the Creator. Tyler the Creator is gay, right? Like there's no right way to answer this question to a certain pocket of Christianity. Now I haven't. I'm literally just going off of Googling it, so I have no idea what he said it, the tone he said it with, what he meant by it, right? So I'm just being completely honest with you in terms of the two ways. I probably wouldn't have said it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he would have said it just for clout. I don't know if he would have said it just for clicks. I think he said it because he meant it. I think he was really like, I like Lil Nas X's music. Okay, as a musician, can he not like Lil Nas X's music? Can we not objectively say this person makes good music, even though we utterly reject their worldview? Some people can, some people can't. I can't. I don't listen to Lil Nas X's music. You know what I mean? I don't rock with that. You know what I mean? I'm not enabling that. I'm not supporting that. I think a lot of it is just it's him intentionally twisting Satanic Panic to get folks outraged, so that he gets clicks, and a lot of Christians be falling for it. And I don't think the music is that dope, in my opinion. I don't think the music's that dope. You know what I mean? But if he feels that way, I don't know. So yeah. That's my question. I think he answered truthfully. I don't know. Again, I haven't seen it. You asked me for my off-the-cuff response. There it is. What's your thoughts on Christian rap and Christian rock music? Does God dislike it? No. Here's the thing. The issue with the question is that God dislikes any specific genre of music. I think to assume that God only likes soft rock, which is what most of CCM is. Let's just keep it a buck. Most of what you guys consider worship music, because a lot of you guys aren't talking about gospel music. A lot of you guys aren't talking about music that may incorporate hip hop elements. A lot of what you guys consider CCM is soft rock. To say God only likes hymns and soft rock, I think is one of the most asinine, goofy statements to think of. So yes, God likes all genres of music because God is the creator of all people. And if he's the creator of all people, he's the creator of all cultures, if he's the creator of all cultures, then ultimately all creativity flows from God, even music that you may think is bad, right? Because God gave us the ingredients to put it all together. So I don't think there's a genre of music in and of itself that God is displeased with. And I think that's a very, Google Gnosticism. Gnosticism is the heresy that there are certain things that are bad just because they are material. Just because they're physical, they're bad. And that's a heresy. That is the church has rejected that. So you got to be careful with sliding into some of that Gnostic thinking, because the same people who think certain music is bad also tend to kind of trick away their life and not really be faithful in their finances, not really be faithful with their taking care of their bodies. I mean, this is a whole epidemic of certain pockets of Christianity where everybody loves Jesus and we gonna praise and shout about Jesus, but the vast majority of the population in certain states, you know what states I'm talking about, is morbidly obese and is on the verge of dropping dead. This is this incongruence where, oh, you know, God, I love God, but not enough to take care of my body. I love God, but not enough to lose weight. I love God, but not enough to be disciplined with what I put in my mouth, right? This is, it flows out of this materialistic, material bad, physical bad. These things are bad, and only the spiritual things are good. So the only thing I'm really going to concern myself with is just like related things to spiritual hymns, gathering, Bible study, church, ignoring that your hymns and your gathering for Bible study and you reading the scriptures should impact your physical material life. Your life should look different. That's what the word holy means. It means you should look different from the world, friend. The way you carry yourself, you conduct yourself should look different, right? Like you shouldn't be walking around here living flippantly and then slapping Jesus on top of it. And this is an entire subculture in certain parts of the country that's on that energy. I mean, if I'm gonna keep it a buck, right? So I think that's not healthy. That's not worship unto the Lord. That's not glorifying God, right? So I think we gotta be really careful to in how we produce that. Yeah, be so heavenly minded you're of no earthly good. That is it's connected. It's Gnosticism. Gnosticism. One of the great church fathers, and I'm not saying that he's right or wrong, but there were some things that he was influenced by Gnosticism on. His name's Augustine. Augustine went on to influence John Calvin. A lot of John Calvin influenced Calvinism, and a lot of Augustine influenced Calvinism, Reformed, so on and so forth. They have a low view, not all of them, not all Calvinists, right? Because there's postmillennial Calvinists that are actually the opposite of this, but other Calvinists have a low view of earth, have a low view of our time here on earth, have a low view of living our lives unto the glory of God in all areas. So you got to be really careful with like, is this genre of music bad? No, that's silly. That's a silly question. That's like asking if, you know, is this cuisine of food bad? No, you would never ask this. Is Guatemalan food inherently bad? Is Indian food bad because, you know, Indians there's not a huge population of Christians in there, and so is this food? No, like that's silly. Now, if you are over consuming genres of music and the content of the music is celebrating debauchery and evil, you probably shouldn't consume that. Right? That should be common sense, right? And so, no, I don't think any genre in and of itself, or any rhythm or any chord progression in and of itself glorifies or denounces God. This is called churchianity, right? This is where you just start throwing sauce on top of it. And so, yeah, don't do that. Don't think that God's against a specific genre of music. And if you enjoy Christian rap, then great. Praise God. Enjoy your Christian rap. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of really dope Christian rap artists out there. There's a lot of cool Christian rock, you know? So anyway, those are my thoughts. Question, can you sing praise and worship without actually singing? Not being hyperbolic, I'm ridiculously terrible singing. Sure you can. I am not good at singing. And I be out there singing. And sometimes I don't be singing because if I'm too close to somebody, my singing be so bad that I don't want to offend anybody with my bad singing. But yes, to answer your question, I definitely think you can sing praise and worship without being a great singer. I think you could also not sing. You could also just sit. You get on your knees. You could stand. You could sit. You could do all kinds of different things. So yeah, I would say yes, absolutely, Rick. You totally can, and I do all the time. Going through some of these other questions. Played for services, staff, camera, crew. would tell the band to look happy, dance, etc. Not sure what to think about this, or when pastors say to raise arms or do altar calls with guilt trips. Yeah, so great question, Josh. So we talked about that in the video with Alan Parr. If you saw on his channel, we did a 90-minute stream about this. So I would encourage you guys to check that video out, and we kind of went in depth on this. There's a thin line between like, hey, like we're celebrating because it's a celebration, so let's celebrate. You know, we were celebrating like we would at a wedding. We're celebrating like we would at a birthday party. So, you know, we're streaming this, so let's look like you're celebrating, right? I think there's a thin line between that and like trying to curate an image that looks more spiritual, or, you know, I think there's a thin line there. You know, I think there's a thin line. I don't know where the line is, if I'm honest with you. So, but yeah, I can't call it. I can't call it. If I'm a pastor and I'm doing a worship service, yeah, I want people to look like they want to be there, right? Like imagine if like you guys are streaming the service, you're the camera guy, and the worship singer's just like, oh Lord, right, and just hunched over, doesn't look excited. That you probably don't want that person leading worship. I mean, I don't know how to say it any other way, right? So hopefully that's a reasonable answer. Trying to jump through some of these other questions. I've had the same experience in church, jumping up and around and dancing, and I was sitting there and they said I wasn't worshiping. I said, yes, I want to hear the word, not a concert. Yeah, and so this chef, I think there's nothing wrong with jumping around and worshiping and having fun. And I also think there's nothing wrong with sitting down and just like, yo, I'm just gonna sit and meditate and reflect on the glory of God. You know, I don't think anybody should be made to feel bad. I think that's kind of whack to me. You know what I mean? So I'm sorry that you had that experience, Chef. All right, let me know if you guys got any other questions before we get out of here. Again, if you guys want to go the extra mile, consider partnering with us on Patreon. $10 a month gets you exclusive access to all kinds of perks, like a bi-monthly or bi-week, every other week we do a Zoom call. You guys can call in, ask questions, that whole thing, and you get discount codes for our store and all kinds of cool perks. All right, so if you want to check it, like this video will be done on here. It will no longer be on YouTube, but you can go check it out, replay it there if you want to. Do you think Christian artists should be more inspired from the Bible and testimony in their lives? Do you think Christian artists should inspired more from the Bible and testimony in their lives? I think so. I think like if you're a Christian, you probably should be writing out of an overflow of either personal testimony and or, you know, godly scriptural content. I think so. I think that should be in there. Like I do think that our music and our art and our visuals should probably look different. I would love to see Christians in a place where we're not just being quote unquote current, that we're actually influencing and leading in certain areas. I think I want to see us get to that place, right? Yeah, that's what I would say. I think I would love to see us get to that place. I think that would be healthy. You know what I mean? I really enjoyed your conversation with Par. What up, Truther? Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Okay, she asked, you may have addressed this with Alan, but what do you think of remixing secular songs to include godly lyrics? I personally don't got a problem with it. I think some people might feel a way. You know, if you were like, if you're like at the club the previous night and there was a 50 Cent song playing, this is like the example I used to hear, and then somebody pops up and they're like, yo, we're gonna flip this, you can find me in the club, right? And it's like on to Jesus, you know. Is that in poor taste? I don't like the Christian version of approach. Like, we got the Christian version of in the club. You know, I don't know. I just think if we're followers of Jesus and God's the ultimate architect, ultimate creative, you know, we probably should be more creative. We probably should be more original. We probably should write great songs. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. What is biblical worship? What is the difference between corporate worship and private worship? Why do we conform to a formula and call it music worship? That's, Richard, that is exactly what the previous stream was about. That is exactly what the stream was about. Better to hear hymn Bible verses songs, that's the best songs. You know, I think again, you're starting to prioritize genres. Hymns, there's a lot of questionable things about the origins of hymns and where they actually came from. So I think we got to tread lightly with hymns are better than contemporary worship. No, I think the posture of the song, the intent of the song, the heart of why the song is written, what is the song about, what is the content of the song, what's the theology driving the song, I think is what we should be looking at, not if it's a hymn or not a hymn. Them hymns be slapping though. You know, there's some fire hymns too. What do you think of bands that are not Christian, but people are in it, Christians? Shouldn't we let our light shine? So I think there's a difference between branding yourself as a Christian and being a Christian in music or in the YouTube space. My buddy Sean Cannell, again, if we're talking about YouTube, one of the biggest channels, 2 million subscribers, he is not branded as a Christian YouTuber. The Professor, another good friend of mine, some of you guys know the Professor, N1 basketball player, he has a page, I think, 5 million subscribers, something crazy. And they do basketball videos. He is not a Christian basketball player. He is just a basketball player that's a Christian. But if you follow him on Instagram, every Sunday faithfully, he is at his church. He's posting from his church. He does events at his church. He's been on the channel as well. You guys can check out my interview with him. Is he a Christian basketball player? You know, I think I'd rather have the Professor just be out in the world influencing people, and then as people follow along and they find out, oh, like this dude loves Jesus, he's a Christian. That's kind of cool. What, you know? And I think we need people like that. So I don't think it's an either or. I think we need Christian musicians and Christian YouTubers that are unapologetic about their faith. And I think we also need musicians that are Christians in the marketplace, YouTubers, content creators, the authors that are in the marketplace, but they're not necessarily Christian authors. Another one, my friend, had him on the channel as well. John Acuff wrote multiple New York Times bestseller. I don't know if he brands himself as a Christian author. He is just a New York Times bestseller, right? That's pretty amazing, you know? So I think we need both. I'm actually curious to know, do you consider the difference between CHH and gospel rap as worship and or testimonials? I've been wondering for a minute. I think it's all convoluted, man. I think the labels tend to not be helpful in general. I think if you want to make music from a Christian worldview and you don't want to market it as Christian, I'm not mad at you. And I think what happened was we created an ecosystem in Christian hip hop, gospel rap, holy hip hop, whatever you want to call it, that created an infrastructure. And then a lot of people that didn't really want to be in that infrastructure, in that ecosystem, came over here because that's where the bag was at, right? And they played themselves. And so they had a lot of folks that were genuinely not called to be Christian rappers, never wanted to perform at churches, and then they became a part of CHH because happenstance, because CHH invited them. And I think lately we've been seeing people pull away because they understand that a label like that can be a cap on someone's career. Meaning this, if you look at Nick D and Toby, both of them, I believe, were freshmen, Rapzilla freshmen. Neither one of them, I think, participated in a Rapzilla freshman thing, and they didn't really rep it, and they both blew up and went beyond the Rapzilla situation. They didn't do a bunch of Christian rap collaborations. They just kind of grew beyond it, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? I think that's good. I think we need Nick D's on TikTok making music that the next generation is going to sing, and it doesn't have to be overtly worship music or preaching music, but Nick's a lifestyle. If you look at his day-to-day life of Culpeper, Virginia, simple guy, he is by and large living his lifestyle in a way to bring glory to God. And so I think we need both. And I think the CHH thing, it was just like a quick come up that people could kind of plug into and kind of get bubbling. But then they saw, oh, there's kind of a ceiling here. And then they said, oh, I'm not a Christian rapper, I'm not a CHH. It's like, well, everything you've been doing up to this point has been saying nothing but I'm a Christian rapper. And it became confusing. And so that's what I would say. That's what I would say about that. You made a point about Maverick City's music not feeling as soft or feminine, but they have a boatload of songs similar to the CCM, but with just more black singers. Maybe gospel is a more male-friendly sound. That's a great point, man. I don't know what it is, but yes, I definitely feel like if I'm listening to Kirk or Fred versus Chris Tomlin, Fred definitely sounds more masculine, and I don't know what to do with that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what to do with that. You know, I think it is what it is. I think we have to just be okay with that. And so Maverick City is just able to pull off this really interesting tightrope of jumping back and forth between CCM, gospel, and their own kind of sound, right? That's a hybrid of all of the above. And they're able to pull it off so well, man. So I can't even call it, man. But I think in my genre of music, I'm just now getting into some Maverick City. But even the stuff I listen to from Maverick City, it's a selective number of songs. I mainly listen to the song Man of Your Word, one of my favorite songs. And then But I listened to a lot more Fred and that whole thing, you know. He said that was an interesting point you both were making, maybe a much bigger disconnect than I realized. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a lot of really soft worship music out here, man, that I'm not a big fan of. Sips tea. Natalie, what does it mean to be masculine? You know. Stop it, Natalie. You know, men aren't singing songs about falling in Jesus's arms and looking into his eyes. That's what it means. I can tell you what it don't mean. It don't mean I feel comfortable singing about, you know, Jesus being my lover. That's definitely what not being masculine means, right? I'm not singing feminine songs to Jesus. You could do with that what you will, you know, or I'm going to feel very uncomfortable singing songs about staring into Jesus's eyes and falling into his arms and dancing with him, you know. When I'm singing repetitive phrases, songs, and I feel like I oversing a lyric, and then is that normal? I can enjoy a bridge or chorus a few times praising the Lord, and then I don't after a while. Sure. I guess. Most of the CCM is too high pitch, anyways, for men to sing as well. That's a great point. Yeah, a lot of it is in higher keys. That's a really good point. But what if that's someone's experience testimony? What? Sloppy wet kisses with Jesus? Nah, fam. No, you're not kissing Jesus on the mouth, right? Like, you just stop it. Like, cut that out. Let's keep it a buck. A lot of the women tend to run a lot of the marketplace. It just is what it is. I'm not saying women are bad. I'm not saying anything, but I'm saying women tend to run a lot of the marketplace. They tend to make more of the consumeristic choices for households. So it wouldn't be out of the ordinary to the songs that pop and blow up are songs that are more feminine sounding, because soccer moms run Christian music. It is what it is. And so if you wanna rock with it and be like, yeah, Jesus is my lover, oh, and that's what you're into, man, that's cool. I'm saying I struggle with that. I'm saying most men struggle with walking in and singing about, you know, falling into Jesus' arms and looking to his eyes. As a man, that's it. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. And then there's some people they'll take the radical extreme about, Song of Solomon is really a metaphor about Jesus in the church. It's like, fam, that's a really, really bizarre and dark metaphor. Some people even went to the logical conclusion of being like, we're going to marry Jesus and be his spouse in heaven. That's Jesus in the church is a metaphor for marriage. It's a metaphor, parallel. We're not literally marrying Jesus, fam. We're not constant, like, stop it. It's weird. You know what I mean? Just want to say thank you for all you have benefited a lot from your content. Continue to be that priest in the home. Appreciate you, Jeff. Thank you. I'm just saying. And so listen, there's nothing wrong with certain songs like that. I'm saying, I think if you ask men, if you survey men, most men are going to be like, I'm not singing that. Right? So you do with that what you will, you know? Dang, my press to preach that in reference to SOS, and it made a good case for it. So what I'm not saying is like masculinity is like you need to watch UFC and lift weights. Though I think a lot of guys can benefit from some strength training. It's not like the cliches about masculinity, but there are differences, right? There are differences, and I'm definitely not rocking with Song of Solomon in terms of like Jesus is. Fam. Song of Solomon is about two lovers. That's what that book is about. It's about two lovers getting it on. And it's if you read it, Jewish boys weren't even allowed to read Song of Solomon up until like they were of a certain age. That's a song about sex. It's a book about sex. Like, don't get it twisted, you know? What were the Levites' responsibilities, and do you think that's how we should model worship teams ministry? So great question. So the Levites' responsibilities, I just finished the book of Leviticus. I'm in the book of Deuteronomy, and so the Levites were the ones that initiated the worship. They were the folks that would come between. They would do the rituals. They would offer the sacrifices. The Levites also didn't share in an inheritance from the other tribes of Israel. So a lot of the offerings, not all, but some of the offerings that were offered, food and that sort of thing, was given to the Levites so they could sustain themselves, and they lived in the temples and the priests and that whole bit, right? So today, it depends on which camp you're in, right? The more casual the more casual the denomination, theological slant, the less desire to consecrate oneself like the Levites were consecrating themselves. So, but if you go to, and I shared about this on Alan's stream, like I went to Armenian church a couple weeks ago, Orthodox Armenian church. There's all kinds of things theologically I disagree with, but I went because there was one near my family's house and I wanted to take my son, kind of experience how I grew up in church. Very different, very different. And the most obvious one was this. When we're closing out with worship, or their version of worship, it was hymns. They were in Armenian, loud organ, choir. The choir was on a balcony behind us. So we're sitting in pews. The choir's in a balcony behind us. So you don't see the choir, you only hear the choir. And then when the terchayers went to sing, it's like their version of like a priest. When they went to sing, the curtain closed and you couldn't see them. So the entire process was, hey, there's this, first of all, we're going to worship God and we're going to make our worship vertical, and we're going to create the building and the seating and everything to remind you that it's about vertical worship. It's not about your comfort. And two, we don't even want you to look at a man while we're singing because it's not a concert to them. I think we could get back to some of that. I'm not saying we need to do worship with our backs turned or whatever, but I think a lot of what we do today is very much so like consumerism, rock concert driven. I think there's a time and a place for that. I just don't know how we should distinguish that. I also think that in the Old Testament there was a tier, right? There's the Levites, the priests, and then there was everybody else. In the New Testament we have the priesthood of all believers. So I think it's a good tension to walk in, but I definitely feel like we definitely can have more reverence to church today. What a great question. How would you talk to someone that doesn't have the most theological worship? I would just probably talk to them about truth and the macro concepts instead of trying to pick apart their theology. That's usually what I would try to have documentation about, and conversation about. Let's look at the scriptures. Let's look at what the scriptures say, and let's line that up. Fred Hammond got some intimate sounding worship songs on his very slept on. So here's the thing. This is what I appreciate about Fred Hammond. Tash, Fred Hammond just went and did a love album. He wanted to do love songs, so instead of writing love songs about Jesus, he just went and did a love album, right? Like an actual R&B love album. Do that. A lot of y'all want to write love songs. Worship leaders, you want to write a love song? Just go write a love song. Go write a song about love and relationships. Fred Hammond did that. He did a whole R&B album. I don't think it did great, but I think a lot of times that's better in my opinion. I think that's better in my opinion. And so, Kurt Franklin said, Jesus is the lover of my soul. Listen, I don't know, man. Kurt just says stuff in a way that just don't sound soft. I don't know what else to tell you. I've listened. I love Kirk's last album, and it just don't feel like. I don't feel like CCM. I don't know how else to articulate it. I'm not trying to be mean, but yeah. All right, we're gonna start wrapping up here. Do you ever feel that secular music is more authentic, genuine than many CCM songs that come out? Well, that would be the argument, right? Like the secular music, because it has no restraints, because they can tell you exactly what they're thinking, when they're thinking, why they're thinking it right away, no filter. Then you can do that, right? As a Christian, we have restraints. We have certain things that we lose our right to do. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And so I think, can secular music feel more authentic, genuine? Sure, because they can be fully themselves and embrace even the sinful parts. We shouldn't, and I would say as Christian creators can't. And so I have to filter everything I'm saying to you guys, because I'm not going to jump in the flesh and start saying stuff just because it's true and authentic. Though some people will be like, yeah, speak your truth, Ruslan. That's good, right? And so the value system of the world is like your authentic self, your true self. The value system in the church, or for Christians, should be your holy self, your sanctified self. So I think, if they're having an edge there, fine, they could have that edge. I'm not mad at that edge. It is what it is, Hey, Ruslan, I'm curious to know your thoughts on church musicians being paid a salary that can cover their lifestyle so they don't have to work a regular 9 to 5. Oh, Eric, I think you start getting into some hairy territory. So I think from one perspective, we just talked about the Levites in the Old Testament. They were taken care of, right? I think in the New Testament, priesthood of all believers. I think it's a tricky one. I'm trying to think, do I know? I know musicians that get paid. I know musicians on Sunday mornings that get paid. That becomes a career path for them. Some of them go on a tour, some of them don't. Some of them do a rotation of churches. Some of them work side jobs while they do that. So I think it's a gray area. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it. And I think sometimes if you want a certain standard of execution, it makes sense to pay somebody. So I don't know. I don't know exactly where I fall. But also, I don't think a church should bend over backwards and go in debt. And I also think there's something problematic about folks that may not be living the Christian lifestyle, getting paid to be a quote unquote regular worship leader. So I think it can go either way. You know, I think it can go either way. Do you think some writers of do what South Park did when they look at old songs and put Jesus in place of baby girl or whatever? I don't know if they're that overt. You know, why are so many Christian songs whiny now? I love worshiping God, but turn the channel all the time, I hear whine. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I don't have an answer for you. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if whiny is the word I would use to describe that. I shared the gospel with some students at my school today. Estimated 400 students as expected, and I got a lot of backlash and taunting. What advice do you have for people in this circumstance? Shandon, I would say it depends. It depends. Like, are you tough enough well, first of all, do you think you did the best job you could? 1, how do you think you can get better at presenting the gospel? 2, do you think you're called to present the gospel in a more creative way? 3, can you improve your presentation of the gospel? 4, so I've performed at a ton of secular colleges in front of college students, in front of high school students, where I've shared my testimony, shared the gospel. The difference was that I packaged it around music or spoken word poetry or art or media. And I've never caught backlash for it. Why? Because my gift made room for me to share a hard truth. If you have a talent and your gift makes room for you, then you could say something that's hard to believe without necessarily as much backlash. So I think that's, you have to factor in, what are you trying to do? How are you trying to do it? What is the approach there? So if you just got up and yelled, if you're just at your school today and you got up at the lunch table and there's 300 students there and you said, "You're all going to hell, you stupid idiots, put your faith in Jesus," and then they all gave you backlash, well, I understand that. But if you were asked to speak at your school assembly and they said, "Hey, we want you to share your testimony," and you shared your testimony, and then you got taunting backlash. So it's all in the context. It's all in the context of what you're sharing, how you're sharing it, when you're sharing it, why you're sharing it. So it just depends, right? But if you're gonna run into a cafeteria and yell, "You stupid idiots, you guys are going to hell, repent, give your life to Jesus," well, yeah, I understand that. Right? I understand that. But if you're in a context where people are willing to hear from you, if you're at a talent show, here's an example. You're at a talent show, you are performing music and you are crushing it, and then you stop and you share your testimony for a minute. And then you get backlash. Well, gosh, that sucks, right? But maybe that's what it is, and you just need to be okay with that, right? So I don't really know how to navigate that conversation. You don't want to water down the message, but you do want to speak and operate full of grace and truth. It's both. It's not either or. Oftentimes we'll kind of compartmentalize. I'm going to speak bold truth. Okay, but is it gracious? Is it good news? Is it humble? Is it gentle? Does it make sense? Are you breaking it down in a way where people can receive the truth that you're saying, right? So I think that's how I would encourage you to process it. And again, I don't know what the context is, because that I shared the gospel with some students at my school today, estimated over 3. That could mean 25 different things, 25 different contexts. I have no idea what happened, what you were doing, who was there, why you were there, where did you do it in, what was the context, so on and so forth. And so I've seen guys get up at malls and start yelling about Jesus, and people cheered, right? I've seen other folks get up and yell about Jesus and people not cheer. I don't know, So there it is. Appreciate for the super chat, Scott. By the way, thoughts on Tripoli's sermons and music. I haven't sat with any Tripoli sermons or music in a long time. I just listened to the singles. I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool. So yeah, I'm trying to think. The guy Boom Gang, when he got saved, there was a video he put up of him getting up at a lunch table in the cafe area of like a lunch hall at a mall, and he started preaching about Jesus. And guess what? People started cheering and clapping, right? No one booed him. Why? I don't know. A couple different reasons. Maybe because he's a young guy that was viral before for doing really stupid stuff, and he got tattoos, face tattoos, and looks wild, and he's talking about how Jesus changed his life and encouraging people to surrender their life to Jesus. Man, that looks different That looks totally different than if a white guy like me stands up in a cafeteria and starts yelling everybody to return and change Jesus, right? That people probably know him from being viral. People probably see him and go, whoa, this guy looks like he's been through the ringer. And then they maybe are more likely to be like, and he's talking about Jesus? Okay, right? So it's like the context matters, you know? The context matters to the audience, you know? So anyway, why are people associating, this is an interesting question by Ian. Why are people associating CCM with right and left-wing politics? What? Who's associating CCM with right and left-wing politics? Why can't we separate all that trash and just walk in love and get back to what the church is supposed to be? I don't even know what you're talking about. I have no idea what that means. Who's associating the CCM with right and left-wing politics? I have no idea what you're talking about. I'll be completely honest with you. Are there going to be certain artists from certain backgrounds that are going to have a political slant about certain social issues? Sure, right? And if you don't know why that is, well, maybe you should jump in and figure out why does certain people have certain things that they're passionate about and other people don't really care about the same things, right? I think that's how I would look at it, instead of saying, well, these people are all bad and these people are all good and why are we talking about politics? Because everything isn't politics. There are certain issues. Like if we talked about ending abortion, right? And most Christians are on board with ending abortion. Most Christians think abortion should be limited, should be regulated. Some people from the world would say, oh, that's a political issue. Okay, maybe it is. I don't know. I don't think it's a political issue. I think it's a human rights issue. On the contrary, when someone is saying, hey, we want to see better police reform, right? We want to see some police reform. We're not talking about defunding the police. We're not talking about abolishing the police. We just want to see better accountability. We think this isn't right. Okay, well, why do they have that position? And is that not a human issue? Why did that become a political issue? You know what I mean? And so I think some of this stuff gets phrased, and this is what it is. This is what it is. When you can label someone as something that is damaging to their reputation, then you can shut them up. I'll give you an example. With folks on the left, they think the most damaging thing you can label someone is a racist or a white supremacist. So now everything becomes racism and white supremacy. Dave Chappelle used white privilege to punch down on the trans folks. That's stupid. That's nonsensical. In the same context, this happens from folks on the right. Hey, you're talking about police reform. You're a Marxist. You're a cultural Marxist. You're a communist. It's the same thing. And they did this to Martin Luther King Jr. When you label somebody as other, you're trying to diffuse their ability to speak, and you're trying to knock them down instead of addressing what is the actual issue and can we discuss the issues at hand. So we got to be careful with just dismissing someone as, oh, they're on the right, therefore they're about white supremacy, and therefore they're about corporate greed and capitalism, and they don't care about the poor. Oh, they're on the left. Well, they're about Marxism, and they're woke, and they're stupid, and they don't know anything about anything, and they're getting tricked into belief. We got to stop doing that because it's a very incomplete picture of where people, I think, are in their true approach to trying to critically think really complex and nuanced issues. I'm not talking about abortion because I don't think abortion is complex and nuanced. Police brutality, wealth inequality, all these different things aren't as simple as you think it is. I'll give you an example, and this is the last thing I'll say about politics. If you think that wealth inequality is an issue that only the people on the left care about wealth inequality, go sit down and listen to I think he says his name is Chink from Sink. I think his name is Sink from the Young Turks. Sink sits down with Valuetainment, conservative outlet, and listen to them talk about wealth inequality, and listen to how both of them actually agree on a bunch of stuff. Listen to Sink debate Ben Shapiro. They actually agree on a lot of the same root issues. The way they want to solve those problems is different. So I think you got to be careful to not let right-wing, left-wing politics polarize the church. And if you don't understand something, then, ask the questions. So anyway, I got to go, guys. This has been fun. I appreciate you guys. Again, you want to go to Extra Mile, consider partnering with us on Patreon. Make sure you're subscribed. If you guys want to partner with us on Patreon, it's $10 a month. And you go to Extra Mile and partner with us there. It's a monthly contribution. It really does help out a ton with what we have going here. All right. Ruslan, any advice on how to keep that balance with my spiritual relationship with Christ and also the drive to be successful in the world? It's the day-to-day decisions, Efren. It really is the day-to-day decisions. It's who you are in the inconsequential decisions that you don't think matter. That's what it's about. So if you want to keep a balance between your spiritual health, your spiritual health and your flourishing on this side of eternity, I think you have to prioritize those things in your day-to-day commitments. Things like reading the word, prayer, worship, doing things like taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, doing things like working on your skill set, learning how to manage money, developing day-to-day skills that you can execute on a regular basis. Those are the things that you get, it's the commitments every single day that you got to do. So anyway, guys, I got to go. I appreciate y'all, and I will see you guys later. All right, peace.
King's Dream Entertainment. Ruslan.